I think one of the strangest things people experience is missing somebody that hurt them, because logically it sounds stupid. If somebody caused you pain, if they gave you some of the worst nights, if they made you question yourself, why would you still want them back? Why would you still miss them? Why would part of you still check your phone hoping their name appears? I used to think the answer was simple. I thought missing somebody meant they mattered more, that if somebody stayed on your mind long enough, then they had to mean they were special. That maybe they were supposed to be a part of your life. But I don't think that's always true anymore. Because I think people confuse missing someone with missing what they gave them. And those can be two very different things. I think people underestimate how quickly somebody can be a part of your life. Not physically, emotionally. Because people don't suddenly become important, they slowly become routine. And routines are weird. You ever notice them while they're there? No. You only notice them when they're gone. You don't notice hearing them every night. You don't notice expecting a message. You don't notice looking for one specific person first. Until suddenly, none of it happens anymore. And then your day just feels different. Not because your whole life changed, because one small thing disappeared. I'm going to tell you a little story because this is where I understood it. There was someone I got really close with, and I don't think I noticed it happening. At first it was normal, just random conversations, jokes, talking about stupid things, sending things that reminded me of them. Then eventually they slowly became a part of my day. Not in some dramatic movie way, just naturally. Like checking for their message became normal, like hearing about their day became normal, like telling them random things became normal, and eventually I got used to it. That's the problem. Because one person becomes normal to you, you stop imagining life without them. Then things slowly changed. Not all at once. Nobody sat me down and said, everything's different now. It happened quietly. Replies felt different. Energy felt different. Conversations felt different. And I remember trying to convince myself I was imagining it. Because when somebody matters to you, you don't want to believe something's changing. Then eventually I noticed something. I wasn't enjoying what we had anymore. I was trying to save it. And those are completely different things. Because when you're enjoying something, you're present. When you're trying to save something, you're scared. And after it ended, I missed them, which still annoyed me. Because I kept asking myself, why? Why do I miss somebody who made me feel awful? Why do I miss somebody who caused me one of my worst nights? Why do I miss somebody that made me overthink everything? Then I realized something. It was never missing every version of them. I was missing specific moments, specific feelings, specific memories. Because your brain does something strange after loss. It starts collecting highlights. Not really highlights. It remembers laughing, late conversations, feeling understood, feeling wanted, feeling important. But your brain doesn't replay everything equally. It doesn't replay every night you felt confused, every time you questioned yourself, every time you sat there wondering whether you mattered. Because pain fades differently than comfort does. I think that's why loneliness changes memories. Because loneliness makes your past look softer than it actually was. It edits things, not intentionally, but enough that reality starts becoming harder to remember. And maybe that's why people miss people who hurt them. Not because pain feels good, not because suffering is love. Maybe because once somebody made you feel important, your brain remembers that feeling long after, and it remembers the reasons things ended. I think that's one of the hardest truths. Sometimes you aren't missing the person, you're missing how you felt around them. And that's a completely different thing. Because sometimes people don't miss the relationship, they miss feeling chosen, feeling wanted, feeling like they mattered to somebody. And when that disappears, the silence afterwards feels huge. Maybe that's why moving on feels so strange. Because you're not only losing a person, you're losing routines, future ideas, conversations that never happened, versions of your life you imagined. And maybe that's why people stay attached for so long. Not because they want the pain back, but because part of them kept hoping a good version would come back too. And I think that's the saddest part. The person you miss and the person who hurt you aren't always the same person anymore. One lives in reality, the other lives in memory. And memory is usually kinder. Maybe you didn't miss the pain. Maybe you didn't miss being hurt. Maybe you just missed the feeling of being important before everything changed.